1, 2, 3.
Good morning. The Unitarian Church of Montpelier is located on Western Abenaki land, which has long served as a site of meeting and exchange amongst Indigenous peoples. The Unitarian Church of Montpelier honors, recognizes, and respects these peoples as the traditional and ongoing stewards of the lands and waters on which we gather. In that same spirit, we will respect, protect, and be good stewards of this land for as long as we walk upon it. I'm Ryan Kane, a member of the UCM Governing Board. Thank you for joining us in this time of worship from wherever you are. Whether you are on Zoom, on Facebook, or watching the service on your own time, we deeply appreciate your presence and fellowship today. The Unitarian Church of Montpelier is a Unitarian Universalist congregation founded in 1864. We are a religious community that welcomes all as we journey together, seeking spiritual wholeness and justice in this world that we live. Whether you are a newcomer, a longtime member, or somewhere in between, you are a part of this community, and we are glad that you are here. If you are joining us on Zoom, the chat function will be available for much of the service. It is a great way to publicly welcome and support one another, to affirm the hard work and effort of our worship team, and to share good vibes and positive thoughts with each other. For technical or constructive thoughts, please private message the Zoom host or join us for coffee hour after the service and share your thoughts there. Thank you to our virtual greeters who are offering hospitality and tech help throughout the service. Additionally, on Zoom, click on the live transcript button wherever it may live on your screen for increased accessibility. I invite you now to take a moment, turn on your videos, and go into gallery view on your Zoom screen, and let us greet our neighbors with a smile and a wave. Hello. Okay, hi, everybody. So wonderful to see you all. Again, warm welcomes to each and every one of you. Thank you for being here. I now have a couple announcements about the life of our congregation to share. There are two options for coffee hour today. You can stay in this Zoom meeting, as well as join in the churchyard for an in-person outdoor social hour starting today at noon. Bring your own coffee, tea, snacks, and a chair if you'd like to sit. During our Zoom coffee hour, there will be a breakout room with UCM member Leslie Parr and others to learn more about small group ministry. And there will also be a separate breakout group with members of the UCM Governing Board who will be available to have an informal conversation about the work of the board at the beginning of this church year. Please read the weekly e-news to learn more about the many upcoming events in our church community. And now, let us enter more deeply into our time of worship with our prelude.
Thank you, Eliza. Good morning. I am the Reverend Joan Javier Duval. Our opening words this morning are by Margaret A. Keip. As surely as we belong to the universe, we belong together. We join here to transcend the isolated self, to reconnect, to know ourselves, to be at home here on earth, under the stars, linked with each other. It is good to be together for this time of worship. And now our acting director of music, Donia Prince, will lead us in our opening song.
You won't find this song in your hymn book. It's Find Our Way Home, written by Maggie, who is a songwriter and choir director and actress based in Los Angeles. She wrote this towards the beginning of the pandemic to help express and to help comfort the feeling of being somewhat lost at sea in this new world that we found and unfortunately still find ourselves in. I will teach the main melody line just phrase by phrase. I'll sing it once and then you repeat after me. Here we go. We are out here in the open water. We are out here in the open water. Okay, the next line. No clear direction to carry on. No clear direction to carry on. And then we do the first line again. We are out here in the open water. And then the final line is, together we'll find our way home. Together we'll find our way home. Great. Okay, let's do it all together. We are out here in the open water. No clear direction to carry on. We are out here in the open water. Together we'll find our way home. Great, you sounded great. Okay, and then this next line that comes in, it layers on top of it after several times of singing that line. Goes like this. One simple line that just repeats over and over again. I will just sing it 3 or 4 times right now, and you can join in when you want to. We are out here together. 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 Great. Okay, we're going to sing it along with the recording. Please sing either of those lines. I'll let you know when the second one comes in, or harmonize as you wish. The song is here for you. Here we go. We are out here in the open water, no clear direction to carry on. We are out here in the open water, together we'll find our way home. Repeat. We are out here in the open water, no clear direction to carry on. We are out here in the open water, together we'll find our way home. Keep going. Here's the second line. We are out here together. We are out here together.
Indeed, together we will find our way home. Let us light the chalice, symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith. I invite you to light a chalice at home if you have one nearby. We light the flame, an enduring symbol of our collective commitment to lead with truth and compassion. And please join me in saying our words of affirmation adapted from Universalist minister L. Griswold Williams. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve human need, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant. And now, Director of Lifespan Spiritual Exploration, Liza Earle Centers, will share our Time for All Ages.
Good morning, everyone. I am Liza Earle Centers. I use she, her pronouns. I'm here in our children's chapel in this fall harvest season. And I have, instead of a wonder box today, a wonder basket. I did this with a whole huge room full of kids in the Zoom room for children's chapel this morning. And I took 2 guesses about what might be in the basket. And the second one was right on. Someone guessed maybe some plants or food. And it is that time of year, right? When we are harvesting from our gardens and from the woods. I have you all in gallery view. And so I wonder if you might raise your hand if any of these are things that you have been harvesting lately. Any apples? Any apple pickers out there? Great. And how about those precious last things from your garden? Some cherry tomatoes or kale. Yes, I'm seeing a lot of hands up. We are a congregation of gardeners. This perhaps not as much, but this was an unexpected gift from my nieces yesterday. As a baggie of, can you guess? Anyone see? Yes, I see Emily saying milkweed silk, because we want to plant some milkweed for the pollinators. So thank you to Harriet and Beatrice. I gathered some red clover while I was out. I'm seeing other, Marcia Bancroft gathered some red clover. They're tasty to eat or make a tea from. This one, I don't know if anyone harvested this except my daughter and I. Sandal's laughing. You can eat the seeds of the sumac tree and they're a tasty little lemon burst. And finally, Janet and John Poten grew this and harvested it for me from their garden. Anyone have some pumpkins to decorate their house right now, whether you grew them or not? Yes, they help keep this season festive. And so I wanted to talk in this Time for All Ages about relationship and how we harvest in a way that can build relationship with our plant friends and neighbors. And when that pandemic, when this pandemic first hit, and we all found ourselves in that open water that Donia was singing about, this book is one that really helped anchor me. Braiding Sweetgrass. Some of you have read it. I'm seeing you nod your heads. Yes. By Robin Wall Kimmerer. Robin Wall Kimmerer is a botanist and a writer, a poet. She's a member of the Potawatomi Nation, Indigenous, also known as Ojibwe. And reading about the honorable harvest in her book really helped me do what that opening hymn said of finding our way home. and really connecting with our plant and animal neighbors and the land on which we live. And the honorable harvest is a set of practices around harvesting from the land that we live on in a way that is one of reciprocity and connection, and not just one of taking. And while these rules are not written down, there are some basic tenets that I thought I would share with you all. And as you do your final harvest from your garden, or if you take your grandchildren apple picking, or even just sometimes shopping in the grocery store, which is our modern day version of harvesting sometimes, we can keep these lessons in mind. Robin Wall Kimmerer says that when you arrive to where you are gathering, the woods, your garden, the riverside, don't just start grabbing all that you see. First, look around, greet the plants. Never take the first plant that you see, and that will ensure that you never take the last. When you find the second plant, introduce yourself. Share with them who you are and what your intentions with them are. If I harvest these seeds, I could share with the milkweed that my intention is to plant more milkweed where there is none to help more pollinators. Or lately, I've been harvesting flowers from my garden, and as I do, I try to infuse in them my intention, which lately has been to share them with friends who are having a hard time. Also, listen for the answer, intuitively or practically. If you get a sense that that plant is not receptive to you harvesting it, they say move on. Sometimes it's a practicality of looking around. Yesterday, when I looked for some red clover, the first one that I found was all by herself. That plant needed to get those seeds out to the ground to grow more red clover, so I did not harvest that one. I went on until I found about a dozen together. In the honorable harvest, most Indigenous people have a rule: you never harvest more than half of what you find, for we are not the only ones who want these plants' gifts, right? The animals, the pollinators. The next is take in a way that does the least harm. Sometimes you can even harvest in a way that helps the plant. Do some of you know what I'm talking about? With zinnias, there's a way that if you go down the stalk, you find the spot where the plant is just ready to send out its next two zinnias. If you cut right above that, that plant's gonna grow those next ones. Also, think about a way that you could help the plant out in return. So there's a relationship. A year ago, a friend pointed out some wild elderberries across the river from our backyard. And I went over there this season and I weeded those wild elderberries. I rid them of the vines that were crawling up and choking them. Later in the season, I paddled across the river with some chicken manure and I spread it out sparingly as fertilizer. I did not harvest any elderberry this year. This year, it felt like a year of getting to know those elderberry plants and building relationship with them. And I hope that next season, we might feel ready for me to harvest some of those berries and flowers. You can also spread their seeds. My sister-in-law, when she harvests mushrooms, she'll tap the spores out before she takes them away to feed her own family. Sometimes you can just sing a song or say a little prayer of gratitude to the plants. If we take time to be grateful and to be humble, those plants are likely to continue to give back to us. And if all of these lessons of the honorable harvest are hard for you to remember, it's a bit like if your grandmother or your friend offered you a plate of cookies, right? You wouldn't take them all at once, right? You would take them mindfully and you would say thank you. you wouldn't clear out her entire cupboard of everything else that she has in her kitchen. And you would think of some kindness to do back to your grandmother. And you might even take one to share with your sibling, or take someone to someone who doesn't have that visit with your grandmother, to share with someone who's bound at home. So these are the lessons of the honorable harvest, and I invite you to keep them in mind as you make your way through your garden or on your walks. At the very least, she says, we can at least know the names of our plant friends and neighbors. So even that is a starting point. Just learning the names of some new flowers or some new herbs around you. So blessings in this season of the honorable harvest. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for that beautiful message, Liza. Our generosity is a form of love and gratitude. Our gifts, freely given, help us to practice Unitarian Universalism within and beyond our congregation. Each month, through the UCM Community Pouch program, we share part of our collection with an important church fund or a community organization aligned with our values. During the month of October, our community pouch recipient is Abenaki Helping Abenaki. AHA was organized in 2006 by the Tribal Council of the Nulhegan Abenaki tribe to address cultural, educational, and socioeconomic issues within the greater Abenaki and Indian communities of Indakana. Your contribution to the community pouch this month will directly support this work. You can make a financial contribution today by donating online. Go to ucmbt.org and click Donate to UCM. There are options to contribute to the general fund, which supports the general operating budget of the church, to the community pouch, or both. You can also mail a check to the church or use our text to give option. Simply send a text message with the word give to 802-266-4848 and follow the instructions that are sent to you. We are so grateful to each and every one of you for your generosity in its many forms. Our musical offering, Home by Karla Bonoff, is sung by friends of UCM and next door neighbors, John Gailmor and Kate Latz. It speaks to finding fulfillment in the richness of your own home, however you might define that. By being rooted, you are free to soar.
Traveling at night, the headlights were bright, and we've been up many a night. And all through my parade came the refrain of home, and it's a warm and fire. Home sings me of sweet things, and life there has its own wings to fly over the mountain, though I'm standing still. The people I've seen, they come in between the cities of tiring life. The trains come and go, but inside, you know, the struggle will soon be a fight. And home sings me of sweet things. Life there has its own wings to fly over the mountain, though I'm standing still. Home sings me of sweet things. My life there has its own wings to fly over the mountain. Though I'm standing still, traveling at night, the headlights were bright, but soon the sun came through the trees. Round the next bend, flowers will send the sweet scent of home in the breeze. Fall, sing me a sweet thing. A life there has its own wings to fly over the mountain. Though I'm standing still. Ooh.
As we begin this time of meditation and prayer, I invite you to settle into your body in a way that's comfortable for you, sitting with more attention to your breath, or standing and moving and swaying if that's what you need in this moment. Perhaps you're still feeling the vibrations of that musical offering and you want to just have that move you. However your body lands, become attuned to your heart, to whom or to what you might be holding in your heart this morning. Acknowledge the gratitude, the grief, the frustration, the peace. Notice any intentions that you might have for yourself or for others this morning. Silently name these intentions and prayers. A reminder that we do have a lay pastoral caregiver available each Sunday to offer you a listening ear. Today, that is Ruth Whitty. Ruth will share her phone number in the Zoom chat. And I share with you these words of meditation. Earth as the Original Saints by Christina Walters Paintner. Blessed are those who live themselves fully, with no doubt or hesitation, who know their sacred purpose like a hunger. Oak tree in her majesty, owl in her night knowing, stream in her quiet singing, marigolds with faces of joy. May the fireflies light your way in the darkness. May the morning glory spark gratitude for a new day. May the witness of feather and hoof, leaf and light reveal to you what it means to be truly, wholly, fully yourself, breaking open the sacred seed planted within. Cherish the badger who ambles across earth, the raven painting the sky, the horse galloping over meadow. See how they spark your own longing to run or fly into the arms of yourself, to know your name, the one that has always been etched in your heart, from the very first moment. And let us join in a time of quiet meditation, after which we will sing together Spirit of Life. Our reading this morning is a poem called By Many Names. What is the name of the one who likes their roots to stay dry and who bends hungrily towards the hot southern light? What is the name of the one who only appears in the darkness of night when the air is heavy with moisture? What is the name of the one who travels hundreds of miles, pushing eastward the ashes of disintegrated dreams? If I call you by name, am I any closer to love? If I call you by name, am I any closer to salvation? If I call you by name, am I any closer to the lost part of my own soul? The name of all things is whispered between blades of grass. The name of all things pounds down to the clay-laden earth and rushes forth, seeking no destination but farther down. The name of all things is hidden in our forgetting and revealed in our remembering. A living God, named and nameless, is here and now in all things, waiting. Swing on the swings, watch the clouds and the sky, lay in bed and read a book. Put your feet in the river, visit with family. Go outside and enjoy nature while everything is in bloom. Lay in the sun. Enjoy the smell of lavender. listen to the birds, sit and watch the animals run by. Wrap up in a cozy blanket at night and go outside. Do something active with your body. Drink water. Take a nap with me. Before I left for sabbatical in July, the children sent me on my way with those very intentions. And I want all of you to know that I took your beautiful instructions to heart. Thank you, Ananda, Alex, Beatrice, Hayden, Cyrus, Lucia, Clara, Esme, Genevieve, and Liam, as well as the adults who shared their intentions with me, Liza, JC, Janet, Maria, and Melissa. The main purpose of my sabbatical leave was to engage deeply in rest. And in my last sermon before the break, I talked with you about the 9 types of rest, which the children covered in all of their instructions to me. Time away, permission to not be helpful, something unproductive, connection with art and nature, solitude, a break from responsibility, stillness, safe space, and alone time at home. And I think you'll be pleased to know that by these measures, my sabbatical was indeed deeply restful and fulfilling. I know that given structures of work in America and the production-driven biases of our system, being able to take 3 months off is a huge privilege. So thank you for being a congregation that offers this kind of leave time to your minister. And thank you for all of the ways so many of you supported one another and the many ministries of the church in my absence. Truth be told, I was very much ready for a break at the end of June. And although I was certainly needing rest, I also went into my sabbatical time with other intentions. One of these is written about in the book, Rooted, Life at the Crossroads of Science, Nature, and Spirit by Leanda Lynn Haupt. This was one of the books on the sabbatical common read list that I invited you to join me in. Haupt lists a dozen tenets of rootedness to ground her writing in this book. One of these is based on a word that was only vaguely familiar to me before I came upon it in this list, and yet it captures very well a longing that I wanted to make room for during my sabbatical. And that is the word Kith, K-I-T-H. If you have had any exposure to Old English, you may have come across this word before. The word Kith in today's form first emerged in the 1200s as an expression for friends, fellow countrymen, or neighbors. Over the years, the word Kith was also used as an expression for one's native land, and more generally to refer to your knowledge of something. Haupt builds her own definition of kithship from these traditional understandings. She writes, "Kithship is intimacy with the landscape in which one dwells and is entangled. Kith is intimacy with a place, its landmarks, its fragrance, the habits of its wildlings." Kithship invites us to get curious about our neighbors and to foster a desire for intimacy forged through knowledge and familiarity. And it was this sense of kithship that called to me, even though I didn't have the word, as I began my sabbatical time. Despite being confined to my home for much of the pandemic, I still had this need to feel even more deeply rooted. I longed to know more intimately the literal ground beneath my feet. As I began my leave time, I got curious about the condition of the soil on our property right here in Montpelier. let me tell you, it's amazing how many plants, mostly goutweed, have found a sustainable home in the heavy clay dirt in our yard. It's also amazing that soil can be made healthier with enough attention to what is there and what is needed. And for heavy clay soil, it turns out that a lot of compost helps. More time out on our porch meant that I could notice what was growing around me, who was sharing this little piece of earth with my family. I discovered a chokecherry tree, which was a favorite for sparrows and robins and even an oriole. A mama robin decided that the Korean maple tree next to our porch looked like a fine place to make her nest. And she was sure to let us know when we had come in too close or lingered too long. We watched as the fledglings finally alighted, and soon the paradise apple tree became a nice spot for testing their wings and growing stronger as they darted from that tree over to the box elder, or even sometimes all the way across the road to the big pine. I marveled at a tiny hummingbird at the bee balm outside our dining room window and noticed the first signs and smells of a skunk making its den under the breezeway when the temperature began to drop. Perhaps you too found yourself in a place of more intimate awareness of your closest surroundings over the summer and into the fall, tending a garden crop of cucumbers, noticing the movements and dam building of the beavers in the river, removing invasive vines to give the native wildflowers a chance to survive. As I settled more into my body and into my relationship with the natural world, I found that I recovered a deep sense of my connection to all things and to the sacred in it all. The poem that I shared earlier as our reading came to me as an expression of this deeply felt sense of sacredness revealed in learning the names of the many living beings with whom I share place, my Kith. This deeper sense of kithship enlivened another feeling, a related feeling, and that is kinship. Kinship speaks of our belonging. In a Eurocentric worldview, it's a belonging born of blood. An indigenous understanding of kinship asserts our relatedness to all beings, not only human. Sherry Mitchell is an indigenous rights activist, spiritual teacher, and transformational change maker. She writes, the two-legged, the four-legged, the winged, the beings that crawl and slide along the ground, the plants, the trees, and the living earth are all our relatives. It's a similar sentiment that Robin Wall Kimmerer shares throughout her book, Braiding Sweetgrass, that Liza referred to earlier. Leanda Lynn Haupt, who wrote Rooted, the book I mentioned earlier, expresses a sentiment of deep connection to all of Earth's inhabitants in this way. The earth and all that dwell herein are relations, our dear kindred. She continues, we live in a wild communion of absolute mutual dependence, connected in our ancestry and our continuation. Kithship enlivens kinship. And it's this intersection of kith and kin that feels so important to me right now, sacred and holy, worthy of our attention. As we grapple with large-scale crises of a global climate emergency and the COVID pandemic, as well as with local struggles around whether and where people who are homeless can pitch a tent for shelter, and how it is that we as a state can drastically reduce our carbon emissions, we are faced with the question of who we consider neighbor and relative, and how it is that we can show our love and our care. Being able to address these bigger issues starts with tending to the quality of our most intimate relationships. An unexpected consequence of my intention to deepen this sense of intimacy with the earth just beyond my fingertips was that it led to deeper relationships with the people in my life as well. Growing Kithship was not a solo activity. It turned out that my father was eager to help establish a new flower bed, which opened up our time together in a richer and deeper way. We shared flowers with neighbors who later in the season brought us a beautiful bouquet of their own. And noticing and naming the flora and fauna that make up our home became a regular family activity, growing our curiosity and bringing joy. The enlivening of both our kithship and our kinship can lead us back to ourselves and back to the earth and enfold us in the intimacy of another's love and care. We can rediscover our deep relatedness and rooted there find healing and liberation. I know it has been difficult over these past 20 plus months of pandemic life to find that our connections with one another, with kith and kin alike, have been fractured. It has been an unyielding time of change and adaptation, loss and transition. And we have been forced to come up with new ways to celebrate birthdays, to get married, to have funerals, to do church. In all areas of society, we are still trying to figure out how to be together, how to relate in ways that meet our need for human connection as well as safety. And this is where I believe the intersection of kith and kin can guide us. If we turn that word kith around, we have the word thick. And it is the thickening of our relationships that's needed right now, I believe. Layering up the ways that we connect and relate to those that we are closest to, whether that is geographic or emotional proximity. Building thick relationships takes curiosity, consistency, and given the times that we are in, lots of creativity. And we may not yet have all the means of connection available to us that we need or want, yet there are still possibilities. So I encourage you to get curious and really pay attention to what might make someone that you are in relationship with feel more connected. If that is someone, another person, a simple text message or phone call on a bad day might be what that person really needs. Leaving a small gift on their doorstep just to say, I appreciate you. Be consistent in reaching out and in asking for help and support. Make a point of following up with that friend or neighbor that you happen to pass on the street who told you about an unexpected loss in their family. Remember the name of the person who checked you out at the grocery store. Call them by their name the next time you see them. And be creative. We are in a time of adaptation that can sometimes feel kind of like a drag, but it can also be fun. Bring a celebration outdoors, maybe even to a favorite spot in the woods or your own backyard. Add some artistic flourish to that thinking of you note for that friend who's having a hard time. Let that creativity light you up and lighten another's heart in turn. It is in cultivating our relationships with other people and other living beings that we can find our own roots growing stronger. As I return from sabbatical, I hope to grow into thicker relationship with all of you, my kith and my kin, fellow sojourners on this unpredictable path of life. Together, may we seek to be known and to know one another. May we be rooted in our connection to the earth and all its inhabitants. And may we foster and build a sacred kinship in which all of us are home. So may it be. And I invite you to join now in our closing hymn, We Are Not Our Own. As we draw our service to a close, we extinguish the chalice and carry within each of us its healing flame, the warmth of community, and the spark of hope into the days and the week ahead. Please join me in saying our congregational mission statement. We welcome all as we build a loving community to nurture each person's spiritual journey, serve human need, and protect the earth, our home. I invite you as we close our service to go into gallery view once again. And turn your video on. You will not be broadcast onto Facebook or anything. So don't worry about that. But I invite you to have a peek at others on the worship with you. I just went into gallery view so I can see some of you. It's so lovely. I invite you to extend a loving hand out to a friend or to a stranger alike who's gathered in worship with you as we say these words, as I share these words of benediction. May you go from our time of worship renewed in spirit. May you know yourself held in connection and community. May you go in peace and return again in love. And we conclude our service with the postlude.